Yeah. Swooping in just like a hawk, translating on a pick in the park. Yeah, swooping in just like a hawk, translating on a peak in the park. And one baby that's far from a flop. Stay from arena, we blow up the top. DeAndre 12, he just like a cop. Lockdown D, get it still in the block. V got that vision, he passing the rock. Trade up from 30 with 12 on the clock. I hope your best player got really good handles, why? Cause he might get swiped by Daniel's eye. Told him don't leave, both get open wide. Cause he jump away like an ocean, yeah. Chillin' on the fat bird, scaring now. But you can't leave open garrison. Just like a hawk, translating on a peak in the park. And one baby that's far from a flop. Stay from arena, we blow up the top. DeAndre 12, he just like a cop. Lockdown D, get it still in the block. Swooping in just like a hawk, translating on a peak in the park. Swooping in just like a hawk, translating on a peak in the park. Yeah. Swooping in just like a hawk, translating on a pick in the park. Yeah, swooping in just like a hawk, translating on a peak in the park. And one baby that's far from a flop. Stay from arena, we blow up the top. DeAndre 12, he just like a cop. Lockdown D, get it still in the block. V got that vision, he passing the rock. Trade up from 30 with 12 on the clock. I hope your best player got really good handles, why? Cause he might get swiped by Daniel's eye. Told him don't leave, both get open wide. Cause he jump away like an ocean, yeah. Chillin' on the fat bird, scaring down. But you can't leave open garrison. Just like a hawk, translating on a peak in the park. And one baby that's far from a flop. Stay from arena, we blow up the top. DeAndre 12, he just like a cop. Lockdown D, get it still in the block. Swooping in just like a hawk, translating on a peak in the park. Swooping in just like a hawk, translating on a peak in the park.
Even up here, I'm tripping. I ain't have myself up here. Yo, what up? Right back to it, man. We got a debate going. As y'all can see, we got John in the left corner, standing. What? 6 foot 2, 253 pounds.
No, it's 280.
280 pounds. Coming straight out of Reynoldstown, the latest SmackDown onto Marion from the Ave, and then in the right corner. But anyway, man, y'all, hey, we got a debate going, man. They about to talk about Hawks front office, leadership style, what it is, I guess. Well, what's been the best direction, or what could be the best direction, man. Like I said, man. Yeah. I didn't get questions beforehand, so I will though allow for opening statements. Right, that's what we're gonna start out with. Opening statement.
Opening statement.
All right, opening statement, man. So up to you guys. Whoever want to go first, and I'll remove us and give you the stage.
I yield to Uncle John.
Yield to Unc. All right, you accept that yield?
I accept the yield from the senator. Of the avenue there, I accept that yield.
All right, for sure. All right, John, stage is yours, man.
Good afternoon. Today's debate will be on what type of leadership, or what type of front office should the Atlanta Hawks have. I happen to be on the side of structured leadership. top-down leadership. And during the course of this debate today, I intend to show why that particular method of leadership is the best, especially in the situation that the Atlanta Hawks are in right now. We've tried various other methods that have not yielded the success nor the stability that this organization needs in order for it to function properly and in order for it to be successful. I am finished. Thank you.
Okay, all right, man. That was. I guess to the point. I'm sorry, man. I guess I'm familiar how long opening statements should go, but we got it. All right, that's your stance. Your stance will be taken as like you said, a distinct hierarchy.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. That's John's stance. All right, let's hear it from Marion. Marion, the stage is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. Shout out to Stewart Avenue, for those that know. I am taking the opposite position. I don't have a problem with structured leadership in certain situations. However, I believe that as we're looking at what the Hawks are doing, I believe that they are doing what is a collaborative type leadership. And on today, my intention is to show how that can work in terms of what we're doing and how it can be most beneficial over and against the top-down leadership that John is going to present. I do agree with him that we've tried several other things, including a lot of top-down leadership formats. And I think that it's important that we look over the history and see how that has worked out. And just like John said, I am finished.
My bad, guys. All right, I'm back. All right, cool. So that was Marion with this opening statement. I don't know if I should have you guys at the same time or not though, but all right. So let's get to it then, man. Should we want to take questions from the chat? Or
yeah, we can take questions from the chat as well. But we'll start off. I'm going to shoot the question right at John. John, why do you believe that the top-down leadership is what we should be doing?
The reason why I feel that top-down leadership, and I've got to clarify what that is. Firstly, ownership at the very top. You have two types of owners. You have an owner who knows something about basketball and can make qualified decisions as far as what he wants his franchise to be. Then you have ownership that regards the basketball team as a commodity or a toy. Those people are unqualified to make basketball type decisions. Now, they can make business decisions as far as the bottom line, charging for parking, charging for entry, how much money the franchise is making. But as far as the product itself, those types of owners are unqualified to run day-to-day basketball operations. Unfortunately, that's what we have as owners. People who, as I understand, my owner has bought the basketball team for the kids. And since he's bought the basketball for the kids, he started out hiring experts to take care of this, but ended up hiring his son. And every time I think about it, my stomach just starts bubbling because of the fact this is, the team that we are rooting for. This is a representation of our city. Our city needs a championship. By doing the way, by hiring the way that he has, and by treating the basketball team like he has, it has done a disservice to this city, even worse than the previous owners. So that's why I am hierarchy driven as I can make it, because of the fact that someone knowledgeable needs to be at the head of the basketball operations that, and I feel, has championship timber, championship reputation, championship experience, because all of these things that we have done so far have been tryouts for people who have never done the job before. And that's as deep as I'm going to get into that, because I know you have a counter. So,
all right,
you know, we can get into nuts and bolts of this situation a little bit further down the line.
all right. The reason I take the stance that a collaborative type leadership, not exactly fully collaborative, but a collaborative type leadership, is because I believe that most of the time you do need to hear more than one voice. I think that in terms of the one voice that we hear, we can look over examples from our own past. If Billy Knight wasn't the unilateral leader of the Hawks and he didn't say it was my way or the highway, would we have decided to go with Chris Paul over Marvin Williams? I would hope so. Unfortunately, Billy Knight was the my way or the highway guy. He fell in love with Marvin Williams. We drafted Marvin Williams instead of Chris Paul, and we never did see what could have happened if we had Joe Johnson, Chris Paul, Josh Smith all on the same team together. A lot of times when you start talking about the my way or the highway leadership, the top-down leadership, you have one guy who is in charge who says it's my way. What I'm saying is that when you have the collaboration, which is what I believe that we're moving towards, what you see is you see the opportunity for your figurehead, in this case, Ansi, to have experts that work alongside him. And from time to time, he yields to their expertise instead of saying it's my way or the highway. I think that we brought in Graham, who is an expert at the draft, so that Ansi, who doesn't have expertise in drafting, can say, okay, I will allow you, since you are the expert at that, to handle the draft. I believe we brought in Dinwiddie, who can handle the facts and figures and the numbers, to take over as our VP of strategy, because he has expertise in that, and Ansi can then lean towards that expertise. As we look at Anse is just pretty much, he's in charge, but he is the face, he is the figurehead of our front office. And he works collaboratively with everybody who is going to be under him. And again, we'll get in, like you said, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of it as we go along.
Now, I've been doing a little research, and now I have a question that I have to ask rhetorically and actually. Why did the Hawks hire Ansi? Ansi was hired as an advisor to the previous general manager. He was an assistant general manager. But Ansi has no experience running a team, building a team, and contrary to popular belief, Ansi does not have a ring. He was hired the year after Golden State won their last ring. So what was the allure of hiring Ansi? Now, I have to attribute the moves, some of the moves that were made in the 24-25 season to Ansi, simply because he was here and because of my lack of faith in Landry Fields. Because you hired Landry Fields to be the general manager, but you hired an assistant to him to help him. Now you fired Landry Fields and you've hired Ansi, made him the general manager. With what experience? As I had stated before, stated in the very beginning, we are at the point, if we weren't at the point 2 years ago. We are definitely at the point where I'm just going to speak for me personally. I'm tired of playing around. I need someone that is at the head of this organization from the basketball presidency on down to set a vision as to who the Atlanta Hawks are going to be. Draft accordingly, hire accordingly, and proceed from there. Now, I agree that collaboration is necessary. But there is going to have to be not a democracy that determines which way this team goes, but a hierarchy. Someone is going to have to be the person that says the buck stops here. When the collaboration, you have a difference of opinion in the collaboration. When you have a difference of opinion in the collaboration, someone has to set and make the decision as to which way we're going to go, as far as people we hire. And that person has to have that vision and take responsibility for being wrong. At this juncture, the Atlanta Hawks have the fan base, the paying fan base, in a position where you don't know who's responsible for what. And I think that is by design. To keep confusion going on as far as who to blame for this. Because I want, and this is the way that I've always been raised. And, as far as business is concerned, as far as religion is concerned, as far as my life is concerned, hierarchies always, from the family unit to the business unit, hierarchies always have heads, responsible people that if you're responsible for the tickets, if you're responsible for the training, if you're responsible for the draft, I go to you, mister, and ask you the question, what happened? Or everything works out, good job. That's the way that's the way I'm raised. That's the way it's supposed to be. Looking at other organizations, and I, look at Boston, for example. I look at Oklahoma City, the two participants in the NBA Finals. They have presidents of basketball operations where the buck stops, because in the case of the Celtics, they have owners that have no clue as to basketball. As a matter of fact, since the ownership changed, they retained the previous president, general manager, and I think it was another office. They retained those people because those people know and have proven by their championship last year that they knew what it was they were doing. Oklahoma City has had their president in place since 2007. Okay, and have hired up under him, and they have weaved their way to the NBA championship. And that's been a long journey, but they kept that hierarchy intact. That's what we need here. Stability. We need a person that we can trust. These people that you're hiring now, that the Atlanta Hawks are hiring now, they have very little experience. This is going to be, once again, the first time for a lot of these people. So I'm sorry, sir. I did go over my time. You can reclaim your time, sir. I got on a soapbox. Please forgive me, sir.
All right. A lot of things to cover here. The first,
I didn't mean to overload you like that, man, but
the first thing
just
is
grab hold of what you grab hold of, and we'll go from there.
The first thing that you ask is, why did we hire Ansi? That's twofold: because he was an expert at what he does, because he had good connections, and because the truth is, and what we found out is that the league was going to be unforgiving to Landry Fields for what he did to Travis Schlenk. And what I mean by that is that other GMs didn't really have the love to work with Landry Fields. It was like Shedeur Sanders on draft day. They saw him over there, and they saw him wanting to get deals done, but they were reluctant to work with him because they realized that he had stabbed one of their brothers in the back. Enter in Ansi. And even though Ansi came in as a quote unquote numbers guy with no experience, I believe that a lot of what we got done in terms of a lot of the deals that we did in terms of trades, it was because Ansi was in the room. I'm not going to go that far into detail, but because he was in the room, we were able to get deals done. And because we were able to get deals done when he was in the room, he is one of the ones that stayed after Landry was fired. So Landry was fired. A whole lot of people who was brought in under Landry was fired. But Ansi was one that our owner decided to keep, not just to keep, but to make as you are going to be a part of our future. Even if I hire somebody over you, you're still going to be part of our future. That's the reputation that he earned working with us. Now, in terms of, so there was a lack of faith in Landry. I do believe in accountability. But you need to understand that anytime you start talking about accountability, what you're really saying is that something is going wrong and I need someone to point the finger at. Well, in that case, that first starts with those VPs that we're hiring. If you have somebody who's going to be responsible for being over the draft, if you have somebody who's going to be responsible for being over the numbers and a big part of how we make trades, then you do have somebody who to point the finger at. However, if the whole thing is a failure, then you don't have to just point at Ansi. The whole regime has to go. So now in terms of collaboration, you're talking about a whole collaboration. The whole regime got to go. And let me tell you where, in terms of my understanding and my standpoint of how collaborations work, a big part of my job, a big thing that I do, and one of the things that I've been successful at is grant writing. I write grants. I'm a grant writer. And when you write grants, you have what is called a PI and you have co-PIs. We work as a collaboration. The PI, and let's say I'm the PI, I'm the person who's out front.
What is it? Can I stop you? PI, yeah. Please describe that acronym.
The PI is the principal investigator.
Okay.
And the co-PIs are co-principal investigators. Okay. So as the PI, I have other co-PIs that I work with. And when we come together, we decide who's going to do what part of the job. So each person has a part of the job. My job is not to micromanage them because they've already said what they're going to do. My job is just to make sure that at the end of the day, all of it is done. Not to micromanage, but at the end of the day, to bring it up and to write a report about it. So when you talk about how it's looking in terms of the Hawks front office, it's looking like we're going to have a bunch of people who are not going to be micromanaged, but they're going to have their own workshop to work out of. And Ansi is the face. He's in charge. He's the person who brings everything to the owner. Now, the other thing that you mentioned in terms of top-down hierarchy, ownership is constant. We have no way of changing the ownership. That's going to remain a constant. And that's part of the problem as well. You say you want to just go out and get a top name guy. You got to have an owner that a top name guy want to work for. That's the part. It's not like we go into the grocery store and just pick up a top name guy. We can't just go and say, Bob Myers, you're going to work for the Hawks. No, Bob Myers got to want to come to the Hawks. And we can clear out as much room as we want to for Bob Myers. If Bob Myers don't feel good about wrestler, Bob Myers is not going to come. So when we decided to go out and search for a president, we did so. And thus far, we have nobody who wanted to work for us. Nobody wanted to be the president of basketball operations for wrestler. So it just makes sense at this point to stick with a collaborative team who can bring their expertise. And we've hired good people. You say you don't trust them because they don't have championship experience. Well, we've hired good people who has experience. We've hired people who've been GMs. We've hired people who've been assistant GMs in their position. So we've hired some good people. It's not like we're going out and hiring people off the street right now. We're hiring good people who are experts in their field, and they're working for ANSI. They're working with ANSI being the face. And he has his own expertise. At least he has his own connections. So that's the other thing. Lastly, you mentioned a hierarchy has a head, and you talked about different places where you notice that there's a hierarchy with a head. And I agree with you. I would think that if you were married, then you're the head of your household. But your wife is the neck. Your wife is the neck. So you can't turn your head without your wife. There's a collaboration that's there. So you just have to go with the fact that you do have a collaboration. Now you can put how much of that collaboration is going to be. It can be 50-50. It can be 60-40. It can be 80-20. But there's going to be a collaboration if you're married. It's on you.
Now I'm going to take that last statement and go back, because and see, the reason why I'm going to do this is that it was the first debate, the very first one. Who, when he went in the garden looking for the couple, who did he look for? who did he look for, Marion? To speak for the family unit, for the unit. He went and looked for him because he was the one that he dealt with. And everything that he told him, Adam was supposed to tell her. So, yes, it's supposed to be a helpmeet situation. But there was a hierarchy, and man has imitated that in every type of dealings, relationship, things of that sort. Okay. And the reason why I'm saying this, and Marion, you said it. Now I was hesitant to come to this conclusion because I hated that it was going to have to be that conclusion that I came to, as far as nobody wanting to come here because of not Landry Fields, but the ownership. The ownership. See, at this point, there is no head of basketball operations that's coming here, and there hasn't been one since Travis Slink was one, because you had a de facto head of basketball operations that was unnamed and uncredited, which was Nick Russell. Okay. When they staged that coup, and Landry Fields was named general manager, not only nobody wanted to work with Landry Fields, nobody wanted to work with the Hawks, period, because they knew they were not going to be working with basketball minds. And after what they did to both Nate McMillan as well as Travis Slink, no one could come here trusting that they would be given the reins, the leeway, the power, the credibility that they needed to run this franchise. Now, like I said, I agree with collaboration. However, there are going to be times that you're going to have to make a decision, Mr. President, and your presidential decision that you're going to have to make you should be able to make it. And the only person you need to answer to is the person that owns the team. Because you are calling cadence for the type of team that you want. Also, that's why I had a problem with how the general manager was given the quote unquote authority to hire vice presidents. Now, neither of the vice presidents that we've hired has championship experience, has not been experienced in building a team. None of them. None of them have that. None of them have that experience. And like I said, this is the time, right here, right now, for I will say a kingdom to be built, where you put people in place that have had championship experience. You get success because you're hiring people who've done this before. You bring in other people up under them who can learn at the feet of the masters, so that we can go from this point forward in a championship winning, championship building fashion. Because since the Russells have been in charge of this team, how many times have we stopped and started? Let me see. We'll say Travis Schlenk. We'll say, this will be the third time. This will be the third time, because it was Travis Schlenk, general manager, calling cadence. Then it was, and I've got to still say it, Nick Rustler behind the scenes with Landry Fields. Now it's Saleh. Okay. This is the third time under this ownership that we've done this. And contrary to popular belief, the people that were going to the games, they've stopped going. They've stopped going. I mean, it's only so far that a halftime concert and the end of game concert can carry. How many times Ludacris gonna come out there? How many times, we gonna swag surf every fourth quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. But how many times you gonna bring Ludacris out there? How many times are the Migos gonna come? I mean, look, you got the purpose for Phillips Arena. Excuse me, I love Phillips Arena. I'm sorry. The purpose for State Farm Arena, when they put the basketball floor on the floor, is for basketball. Hopefully winning, hopefully championship basketball to take place. That's the reason you're supposed to be down there. Not for a 15-minute concert, not for a half-hour concert. Okay? Putting a winning basketball team together from people who know about basketball is supposed to be your aim. That's what you're supposed to be doing. The people that we have in charge, since I don't know, I've been looking up their experience. I've been looking up their expertise, championships they won, the organizations they've come from, what they've done. For me, a lifelong Hawks fan, I am not impressed. Now, they can show me. They can show me. And it possibly can work out. But history is not on their side. I conclude, sir.
All right. Couple things. First thing is that you mentioned that who did he go to see in the garden? He went to see the man. Interesting. It's true for number one. But the question is, why did he punish the woman also, if it was all about the man?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
She sinned.
Exactly.
She sinned.
Exactly. And it leads into my point. He didn't treat her as though she was a subordinate to man. He treated her as though she was the helpmeet, and that she had her own responsibility in the action of Senate. Otherwise, if it was just a top down, approach, he would have just punished the man, and that would have been it.
No, this is because he sinned too.
Yeah,
Mary, don't forget. Now, if he had, okay, now, Mary, if he hadn't eaten from the fruit, would God have punished him? Because see, thing was, 2 people ate.
Well, wait a minute.
Now,
if you're saying if he hadn't ate, would God have punished him? God would have expected him to have punished the woman, and God would have probably punished him because the woman sinned.
No.
Under the top down, if you talking about a top down,
no. Now, Marion, we got to disagree on that, because see, the thing is, he didn't sin.
Right.
He relayed the instruction. Okay, he relayed the instruction. And notice too.
We have a disagreement right there.
Now, who did the serpent?
He didn't relay the instructions. She was there.
No, she wasn't.
If she was bone of his bone and flesh of his flesh, she was there.
She was not alive. She was no, Marion.
We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later.
Well, let me get this.
Hold on. Let me get to this other part.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. You make a lot about titles. You mentioned that Ansi is the GM, and he's hiring assistant vice presidents of basketball operations. And the truth of the matter is that the titles don't matter that much, John. In terms of basketball, when we think about basketball, when basketball was created, and when Red Auerbach came and told us there's a point guard, a shooting guard, a small forward, a power forward, and a center, and he said that the shortest guy on the team is going to be the point guard because he's less likely to be able to go inside and score. The tallest guy on the team is going to be the center because he can go into the dunker spot and score easily. We all took that as to be fact. But then later on came Scottie Pippen. Later on came Draymond Green. Later on came Jokic. All of these guys had skills and abilities that are different than the small forward, the power forward, and the center. Yes, they have those skills, but they also have the abilities of the point guard. And because their coaches were smart enough, they allowed them to both be. They allowed them to play and use the point guard skill sets that they had. Now, you didn't have any problems with their title as being small forward, power forward, and center, even though they were doing the job and the actions of a point guard. You never argued about that title. You never said, well, why is he the point guard? Why is he the small forward? Why is my small forward doing point guard stuff? Why is my power forward doing point guard stuff? You never argued about that. Let's move this on to the front office. Even though in title you have Ansi as the GM, he's also doing president of basketball operations stuff. Why are you arguing about titles now? The point of the first part is that if they were good at the position and if they produced, then the title doesn't really matter. So if Jokic can get 9 assists per game playing with the point guard skill set, the fact that he's the center, that title really doesn't matter as long as he's productive as being the point guard and running the offense. The same thing is true with Scottie Pippen. Same thing is true with Draymond Green. In fact, some people tried to even a new title up and say that they were point forward, point center. Those positions never existed before. You have Ansi in the front office. if Ansi is productive being GM, regardless of what his title is, if he's doing the president of basketball operations work and he's productive of that, then it doesn't matter if he's the GM. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter what you call him. The point is, what is he being productive doing? And that's one of the problems with the titles. The other thing is that most teams right now, they are hiring non-basketball guys as their GM. When you look at Nico Harris, he spent 19 years working for Nike before he came over to become the GM of the Dallas Mavericks, and he took them to the finals. When you look at Leon Rose was an agent before he came over, and he was a GM for the New York Knicks. Even the guy in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Lakers GM, he was an agent before he became the GM. So you have these non-basketball guys who don't have championship experience, and in fact, they've never worked in an NBA front office, that are not only working in the NBA front office, but they're also being successful. So the thought of asking for us to go out and get somebody who has NBA experience, championship NBA experience, front office NBA experience, I don't know if that necessarily matters as much. I think what matters more is, can they be productive? And like I said before, if it doesn't work, you fire the whole regime and you can start all the way over. But as for right now, this is what we have. And finally, in terms of, I think you said in terms of expertise, you said that we haven't had anybody who built a team. I think Graham, if I'm not mistaken, somebody in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, Graham built the New Orleans Pelicans team through the draft. I think that's why, and he drafted very good players. He put the team together. So he built that team through the draft. So I don't think that we have people who haven't built teams. In terms of championship teams, that's true. We don't have anybody who's built a championship team. But again, those guys don't grow on trees. And you're not going to get too many guys who built championship teams, because you have some teams that's won more than one championship. You have some teams that have guys like Bob Myers who aren't going anywhere. So just going out and saying we need to get a championship guy, that's going to be difficult, especially when half of them then died. It's on you.
Oh, let me see. I had specified that we needed to find people at this juncture in our existence, people who have championship experience, because, like I said, my time is short. I'm not going to be able to continue to care about this and maintain the little good health I got and the little time I got left, because this is really painful, and it should be painful to any basketball purist who resides in Atlanta, who wants a championship for the team. The people that you mentioned with the New York Knicks and the Dallas Mavericks, the thing that they have on us, which makes my urgency, makes my comments and things a little bit more urgent, is that those teams have championships in their past, from winning. And yes, a lot of the people who were championship coaches, things of that sort, they have passed on, but they've left disciples. There are disciples that are still to be had here. And as I said before, there are roadblocks to us getting those types of people, and that's the ownership. The ownership is a big roadblock. And as you said, you can't replace the owners. The owners cannot be replaced. And just like I was talking about Dolan's up there in New York, and we were talking a few weeks back. Dolan's, if he had remained in the forefront, if he had continued to be the point man, quote unquote, for the basketball team, they would still be wallowing around in mediocrity. It was that sex scandal or whatever the heck it was that happened up there that pushed him back into the background, and he was able to hire that GM that they have there now. Now, the people that we have right now, I would, like I said, and I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. We were very, very fortunate, even though we weren't able to use it like New York did when Patrick Ewing was drafted and various other people. We were very, very fortunate to get that first round pick, that very first pick in the draft. Not knowing exactly what took place, not knowing exactly how the hierarchy or how everything factored in, us getting Zachary Ricochet, I can say that I like the development, but you can't really say that draft picks, acquisitions, free agents are successful until 3 to 4 years down the line when they come to your team. Okay, you really can't say that. You can't say that they are championship material until they win the championship. And championships are what I measure success by. Championships. I'll say conference championships as well as world championships, because the conference championship opens the door for you to go to the finals. And if you made it that far, you were good. You were good. The collaborative approach, like I said, you have to have someone that has the vision, one person with a vision. And your most successful franchises in basketball history have had that one person that did that. Everything else or any other methodology is a gamble. Not to say that, doing it that particular way is going to be 100% foolproof. However, it has been the method by which champions are built. That you had someone that had an owner, like I said, the two types of owners, the one that knows basketball and the ones that don't. But the ones that do not know basketball hired people and got out of the way. The situation that we have right now, and see, this is where we definitely agree. This is where we definitely agree. The ownership that we have right now, they need to get out of the way. They need to have someone that they turn the basketball team over to and let that person run their ship. As long as the son and as long as the father are involved with the Atlanta Hawks, it's going to be a problem. Now, Ansi, you've said that, Ansi has had success, has a resume, and just like you said about people being hired from various places to be president, GM, things of that sort. Have those people made it to the NBA Finals? Have those people won championships yet? See, that's my measuring stick. That's my measuring stick. And if you look at the NBA as an aggregate over all of the years that the NBA has been in existence, the National Basketball Association has been in existence, it points toward people knowing what they're doing with a lot of good fortune mixed in. Those were the ones that were the most successful. Now the hirings that are taking place now are due to, and I will grant you that, due to people who have won championships. They're gone. A lot of them are gone. Disciples are there, but there are some people that, owners just don't want to look toward to a certain degree. There are just some people that they don't want to look toward. They don't want to entrust a basketball team to. And in our case, I am of the strong suspicion, and this is just my own opinion, that the ownership does not want to be dictated to. They don't want to be dictated to. They don't want someone to be strong. They don't want someone to tell them what to do, which is, actually very bad because, anyone coming here, even though Nick Rustler is not named basketball operations president, even though he wasn't named basketball operations president in the past, his fingerprints and his claws are still there. His claws are still there. And the question is, will you give me, say for instance, you wanted to do it. Say for instance, I wanted to do it. Do I have the autonomy? Do I have the power to dictate the direction of this basketball team? And if you can't give it to them, I'm sorry, Marion. I see in the next 3 years, we going through this thing all over again. And you can't, and the thing about it though, Marion, you're right. You can fire everybody if this is not a success. But the quality of the talent pool that you're going to have to choose from in order to replace these jobs is going to continue to deteriorate. I'm done.
All right. Yeah, I think that there's some agreement there. I mean, if we wanted to talk about the owner, we could talk all day. That's not even what we're here to talk about, because that's something that we can't change. And actually, you could talk about Nick, but Nick is going to be the future owner of the team, and that's not something that we can change. The only thing that we can really look at is how successful can we be in the parameters in which the wrestlers allow us to work, and which way is right. Now we have a whole history. Oh, and you mentioned, you asked the question, did we have anybody who has championship experience or was part of a championship team? Onsi Sila was part of a championship team. He came from the Warriors. He came from the Warriors front office. That's where we got him from. And so he's been a part of a championship team.
I've got to correct you on that one. He was not. He was hired the very next year.
Well, still a championship organization. That's the thing.
Okay.
We don't even have a culture that we can point to, and hopefully that's what we're building is a culture. A culture can actually supersede your owner if you build it right. And the fact that we're bringing in good people is a sign that we should have hope. I know the H word is something that people hate, but we should have a little hope because we're bringing in actually good people. When people see the hirings that we just made, they have to respect it. Now that's in contrast and in comparison to when Landry was in charge, we brought in Grant Liftman, an actor and former TV broadcaster. How can you respect? And we put him in a basketball position. How can you respect that? So yes, we're getting better. We're looking like we're trying to build a culture. Now, we have a couple of questions. I'm gonna get to your questions from the chat. We have a couple of questions that we're gonna get to in a minute. And I also want to say this: I was definitely I felt you. There is a podcaster that's in our culture in Hawks Nation called Her Takes. She called it quits this past week, and I understand what she was saying. I got it, and I hope that our culture gets to the place where she'll want to come back. And you're right. The things
Oh,
that we're doing,
okay.
the things that we're doing are losing fans. That is correct. But I also believe what Trey Young said: winning changes everything. And we have to show winning, and hopefully we have a general manager. The person that I call Unc the person in charge. I don't even use the title general manager because he's in charge. The person in charge is bringing in people that'll work with him that can help build up this culture because things are different. In terms of how things are different, not everybody is falling off of these GM trees that we talked about. So when we talk about front offices, not everybody is falling off of these GM trees, and not everybody that falls off a GM tree is good. You said that you like a person that can cast a vision and that vision be followed. I do. In terms of a vision, I do believe in a vision, but again, Billy Knight was a visionary. He had the right vision. His vision is working now for other teams. He had the right vision, but under the constraints that he was placed in, he was not able to manage that vision for this organization. And I believe that that the same constraints still exist. And what are you talking about? We're not going to spend the money that a championship team is going to spend. We're just not going to do it. Also, one of the other things that Billy Knight struggled with is the top-down leadership setup. Getting back to our point, Billy Knight didn't have a whole lot of scouts. Billy Knight didn't have a whole lot of voices that he could listen to in the room with him. All Billy Knight had was his one vision that he followed and his own thoughts. And that led to him making bad picks like Marvin Williams, like Sheldon Williams, like AC Law. Those were his picks. You said it takes about 3 to 4 years before you can determine what happens with a pick. Those were his picks. It's been years now. We know exactly what happened. That is with the top-down leadership method. If he had more scouts, if he had people who scouted internationally, if he had more scouts, if he had more people looking at college players, and if he would listen, and if he would have listened to those scouts, if he would have had somebody who he valued, who he would have listened to, we would be talking about how many championships we won right now instead of talking about how many championships we didn't win. Because yeah, he had the vision. We could have been the Oklahoma City Thunder, but we wasn't, because even though he had the right vision, he didn't have the right leadership style to make that vision work, nor did he have the resources to make it work. Now, I said I'd get to your questions. There are 2 questions on the table before we go to our closing, John. There were 2 questions on the table. One question, and we'll both take a swing at it. I'm gonna let you go first. One question: what do you think would happen if Magic Johnson was the GM of the Atlanta Hawks? How do you think that worked?
Magic Johnson. That's a good question. He would definitely bring legitimacy to the franchise.
That's true.
He would definitely demand that the ownership do it his way. You know, before the legitimacy would come to the franchise, I guarantee you that. But I would question his skill at building a team because, you know, he hadn't done that before.
I don't
Because
know. I think he had his hands in a lot of what the Lakers were doing for a time. Remember, he coached the Lakers one year.
And you know what happened. He couldn't stand it.
I know he couldn't do it. He also had his hands in being in leadership in terms of the front office with the Lakers for a time. Because remember, he had the falling out with LeBron.
Right. Like I said, like I said, my prerequisite right now is someone that has, championship experience in building a team from scratch. Their draft picks worked out, their free agency acquisitions worked out, all of that. So my bar is extremely high. At this point, my bar for that particular job is extremely high.
Now, one other thing.
I would say it would be better than what we got right now. I'll say that.
One other correction from the chat. Unsi joined Golden State in 2021. So he was there when they won the championship in 2022.
Now, and something else too that I've got to put on Unsi's plate as a plus. He came from San Antonio Spurs. He was down there with the Spurs organization.
That's the culture. He came from a culture, yeah.
Right. He came from a championship culture. Now, yeah. Because the thing is, with Pop, everything Pop puts his hands on has turned to gold. Now, we might disagree with Budenholzer here, but the man got a championship up there in Milwaukee. He did get a championship up there in Milwaukee, and it was just like, they act like it didn't even happen, in certain circles.
Well, I think that coaching, the Pop coaching tree is untouchable in terms of the success, but I don't know about front office yet.
Right,
I think
right, and see that's
a question mark.
Yeah, that's still out.
It's mentioned. Rob Blakeman in the chat said Magic passed on Jason Tatum to pick Lonzo Ball. Hey, that's
right. and see, this is what I want to make sure that I get across to everybody. Everybody has swings, hits, and misses. But overall, when you take a look at the entirety of the NBA, when you look at the NBA as a whole, that top-down management, once you get an owner out of the way, that top-down management, let me do my job in my job, coupled with the collaborative effort and that one person saying, okay, we got to make a decision here, there, whatever, that has worked more than it has not worked. And something I wanted to ask you, Marion. Now, you said that there were constraints on Billy Knight when he was here with the Hawks. What were those constraints? Well, because I want to make sure we're remembering the same thing.
Okay. When Billy Knight was here, one of the first moves that he did was he traded for Joe Johnson. And this was as the Atlanta Spirit group was coming in. And there was a co-owner named Belkin, Steve Belkin.
Yes.
Who disagreed with that trade.
Right.
And they went to court and they fought about it. And even though he was the governor of the team at the time, the court sided with Billy Knight being able to make that trade. So Billy Knight made that trade. The Atlanta Spirit Group had a fracture and a split at that point. However, it took 3 years for Steve Belkin to be relieved from his ownership duties as an owner of the Atlanta Hawks. He was still a part of the Spirit Group. He just wasn't there in terms of his presence. However, every year that it came up, Billy Knight could only spend so much money. The Spirit Group said, this is how much we're going to give you to spend. Every decision that Billy Knight made in terms of trades, he still had to get it okayed through the Atlanta Spirit Group. I think it was 7 of them. all 7 of them plus Belkin. So he had constraints on him in terms of how much of a budget he had and exactly how much he can go after in terms of trade until they finally cut ties with Belkin. Austin in the chat says Steve Belkin sued the entire ownership group and they couldn't even spend money doing the lawsuit because of Boris Dow. That's exactly correct. When Steve
because of what?
The Boris Dow. He didn't want to trade
Boris Diaw situation. Yeah, right.
Trade Boris Diaw for Joe Johnson. And he didn't want to trade Boris Diaw and 2 first rounders for Joe Johnson, who was probably one of the 3rd best player in our history.
Now
7-time All-Star.
Now, okay. Because see, yeah, I remember all that. I just want to make sure because see now, Belkin disagreed with. It's kind of like, hey, that same situation thing with Joe Johnson.
It's the same thing. We had financial constraints. We could never spend up to the luxury tax. In fact, we had
the luxury tax. The luxury tax didn't exist then.
It was the cap at that point. Did
we have a cap then?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Because they created the Bird rule so you can go over the cap in your spending. The cap has been around for a long time. The Larry Bird.
I'm trying to remember. Well, you might be right, but see, the thing is, I wanted to say about that. See, if I remember correctly, and then we can move on. If I remember correctly, the rift was like I said, it was the same thing that Travis Schlink did. Travis Schlink, Nick Russell, and the rest of them were arguing about as far as DJ. They didn't. Okay, Travis Schlink didn't think we needed to give up 2 first-round draft picks for DJ, and Belkin didn't want to give up draft picks and Boris Diaw for Joe Johnson.
That's exactly correct.
And what happened was that Belkin wanted out, and the Spirit Group wanted to give him the money that he spent to get in at the time that the Spirit Group was formed versus what the Hawks were worth when he wanted to get out. And that's what they fell out about. Yeah, I remember that. But moving on.
Well, one last thing about that. The hilarious part was I remember old man Guerin Sr. He came out talking about Belkin and saying that Belkin wanted to be an owner so he can run the Hawks on the cheap. When they finally got rid of Belkin, when they finally got cleared from all of the law, and it was just the Atlanta Spirit Group, it was the Guerins who wanted to run the Atlanta Hawks on the cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that was Guerin, the doggone leak, the doggone Danny Ferry phone call.
Guerin Jr. was the one that did the leaking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was
they still involved in this, and they still involved in this ownership group.
Really?
They still here. Along with old Salsa from 790 The Zone. Salsa's on the board of you remember old Salsa that Steak Shapiro used to always refer to? Yeah. He's a vice president with the Hawks too. Wow. Man, we just got a cesspool. We just got us a cesspool here. Well, but go on ahead, man.
Second question that came up is, and I guess we can close out with this and open it up for forum if Mike wants to do that. What do you see in terms of the Hawks in 5 years?
Hard to say. I'm just going to say hard to say.
Well, I'm the optimist. I like to be optimistic. I think that hopefully within the next 5 years, we can get to a finals. That's my hope, is that within the next 5 years, or the next 2 years, actually, we can get to a finals. But honestly, everything depends on this summer. So what we do during this offseason is going to tell us exactly what's going to happen with this team. All right, Mike, come on back up. Did you have any closing words?
my closing, and I address this to the Yang dynasty and all Hawks fans. As always, I hope y'all got it right this time, so that we do not have to tread over already kicked up ground trying to plant watermelons where you tried to plant watermelons before. I'm tired of going over, and you know what the definition of insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Unfortunately, you know, now Marion is going to be the optimist. I'm going to be the pessimist / realist, because this symphony, this particular work, has played over and over again for years. And if it wasn't the Spirit Group, it was poor old Ted Turner trusting in what's his name, Stan Kasten and Pete Babcock, which, you know, we don't even want to think about. And now it's Ansi Sala. Like I said, positions matter, titles matter, because responsibilities come along with those titles. Responsibilities come along with those titles. Hierarchies come along with those titles. And everyone is looking at our organization. Everybody's looking at our organization. And the reason why I say that those titles matter is that when people look at our organization, say, for instance, this doesn't work out, when they want to come here as a president, when they want to come here as a general manager, when they want to come here as a vice president of this, that, or the other, will they know exactly what they're getting into? Will they like what they're getting into? Will they be able to do their jobs and leave here unscathed, untainted, unmarked, unscarred after having worked for the Atlanta Hawks? Hopefully we don't fire anybody else. Hopefully we don't have to replace anybody else. But what will those people look like after they've been here for a while? Do you see Landry Fields getting another general manager job since he's been here? We don't know. But we do know what happened here. And hopefully nobody will hold that against him. That's me.
All right. My closing shots is just to piggyback in terms of we've had several years, since our inception, we've tried the top-down method of leadership. Right now, our ownership has put us in a position where our name is dirt, and we are at a position where the best won't come. However, the glimmer of hope is that in terms of leadership, I say forget about the titles. Forget about the titles. The titles are irrelevant right now. Let's look at the production. If this form of organization produces and does a good work, the only reason you really want to lean in on titles and the top-down method is so you can have a finger to point at when it goes wrong. I'm the optimist, John. What if it goes right? What if everything goes right? My thing is, if it goes wrong, you fire the whole regime and you start all the way over, because you don't want to keep any parts of something that's not good. It's like you got a rotten steak. You don't want to just cut off pieces of that meat and try to eat it. So the same thing is true with the regime. If this regime don't work, get rid of the whole thing, start over. But while we have this regime, hopefully we're building a culture that can get us to the championship. Hopefully we're building a culture that can bring the fans back. Hopefully we're building a culture where we won't have to rely on swag surfing and concerts to bring people out, but we rely more so on people want to come to see the Hawks play. People want to come to see the Hawks win. and it feel like it did when we took on the Boston Celtics in the playoffs, and y'all know what I'm talking about. Hopefully we're building that kind of culture where it's excitement and people are excited for what's going on in Atlanta because we have a championship team with championship aspirations. We can get there. I believe we can. I just think that we have to make sure that this is the time that we make the best decisions and the right decisions. This is the time. I hope her takes. I hope you don't quit. Come on back. And Mike, that's it.
All right. That's what's up, man. Shoot, I'm sitting here trying to look and find some information on something. But yeah, man, good debate, fellas. I don't know if the chat had any thoughts. I guess who quote unquote won that debate there. Chat, y'all let me know. I can drop it in the comments. But what is it? All right, so we got about 15 minutes or so. I'll say I drop the link. If anybody wanna I ain't gonna put no stipulations on what to talk about. Y'all talk about what John and Marion just gave their thoughts on and debated about. Or
Hey, would love to hear from Austin and Ariel. They were putting in some real good stuff. In April, they were
just
putting in
drop
some real good stuff.
April is what you call it? Dang, I don't know why his name just slipped my mind. It was just up here though. Earlier when we was all chatting up. Yeah, Ron.
Good.
What's up, Ron?
What's up? Good debate from both of y'all. I respect both of y'all.
Salute.
But once again, I don't respect our owner. I don't respect him or his son. So I put something in the comments. If y'all be watching First Take, Magic Johnson was on First Take the other day. And they asked Magic Johnson, do you want to get back into basketball operation? He said yes. Now, from John's point of view, one, he put team together. He got championship experience. If this don't work, what we got going on now, how about next get Magic Johnson in the front office and ask him, look, do what you want to do to this team. Trade whoever and get whoever. Because he got the experience. And he got championships. He know how to build a team. Yes or no?
Ron, I would say that Magic Johnson would definitely give our front office some credibility. He's a very credible person, both in basketball and in the business world. So having Magic Johnson won't be a bad idea. My only problem is that, and it's probably because it is the Lakers. We did see him make some bad decisions in both leadership and coaching as with the Lakers.
Yeah.
In terms of coaching, I think it's probably because he was too close to the game. In terms of the leadership, I don't know, because I realize it's real difficult to deal with LeBron James and all that comes with.
Yeah.
So I'm not against, if this doesn't work, I'm not against bringing in Magic, because I do know that one thing that he'll do is he will change the culture.
Yes. John?
Only problem with that is the problem that we have here right now. Magic Johnson is not going to come here as long as Nick Russell is within 3 area codes of this team. Because Magic Johnson is going to make it exceedingly clear. I got it. I got it. Your son, and this wasn't part of the debate, but and this is something that I want to remind everybody. You got someone in the front office that's friends with somebody on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, listen to that friend and got rid of a bona fide, experienced general manager, one who was instrumental in building the Golden State Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when you have somebody like that now, and as I always say, he was supposed to have been shadowing Sling. Oh, he shadowed him all right. He waited until he got in the dark and stabbed him et tu, brutai. Stabbed him dead in the back.
What?
And see, no, come on, man. How in the world? And see, that's the thing. How in the world can you have someone here as president of basketball operations that's going to be in charge of basketball operations with a son who has a track record of doing that?
What?
That's the problem. That's the problem. Dad, if you want your son to learn how to be an executive of basketball, send him someplace else. He can't stay here, not being friends with somebody on the team. Okay.
What?
He can't stay here. He got to go someplace. He got to go.
But once again, we bring in the GMs somewhat that don't got no experience. So they don't got that, what do you call it? Oh, I got it. Let me do it my way. Because if you don't got no experience, the owner will look at you, you work for me. You don't know what you're doing. I got this. But you bring in somebody like Magic Johnson that done it. His resume speaks for itself.
I would think so.
I don't disagree, but I think that all of us could agree that we would rather see Magic Johnson put together a ownership group that would buy the wrestlers out. I think that would do if Magic Johnson could put together an ownership group with maybe somebody who's okay. Just follow me here. What if he had what's your boy who got the studios in Atlanta? Tyler Perry. If you got Magic, Tyler Perry, and Shaq, and they put together some money and bought the Hawks, I think that you'll have a serious culture change just based on that.
Right.
And I think that they could hire good basketball people, and I think that it'd be run better than it's run right now.
Right.
But we got
now. Does Magic have any money? Cause see, now isn't he part owner of the Redskins now?
He's part
owner of the Dodgers too, right?
The Dodgers, Washington, and
Does he still have ownership in the Lakers?
I don't think so.
See, I'm not sure.
I think when he left,
his Lakers shares.
He took all that with him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been saying I don't trust our front office. I tell John that all the time. I don't trust the owner either, just by looking at him. So,
well, in our case, it's the owner that's the major issue.
Right. Right.
When your owner usurps the authority of the guy that he put in charge, that's going to be a problem.
Right. So once again, why we keep on bringing GMs here and the owner will not let the GM do his job? That's my point since you met me, Marion and Mike. That been my whole point right there. Why we keep on bringing in new GMs every 3 years, but the owner getting away?
Hey, but here's a question. Here's a question for you, Ron. Let's say Magic Johnson was the principal owner of the Atlanta Hawks,
and
he hired a GM. Do you think that he would allow the GM to make all the decisions?
Yes, because he's the GM.
Do you think if he felt one way about what the GM was about to do, and the GM felt another, that he would let the GM do that?
To me personally, I think Magic will let the GM do so much. but he will not stab the GM in his back. What I mean by that, the Lucha trade.
I don't know, Ron. I don't know. I can't go with you.
Lucha was supposed to
wait a
be
minute. Before the Luka trade, Magic Johnson stabbed his own coach in the back.
when.
He got Paul Westhead fired.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He admitted the other day when he was on First Take.
Yeah, he was on First Take, and he said that he got to go. he said, he told Stephen A. that
took us to the finals. He went to his owner and said he got to go.
Now, that being said,
Just like the finals.
yeah. Now that being said, now I wonder how Magic would feel now that he would be in the seat and one of the players would come and say that about him.
Mm.
See, that shoe don't fit on that foot now. That foot done swole now.
But I just think Magic Johnson would do a better job than what we've been getting in the last
No
8
doubt.
years.
No doubt, Ron. No doubt. Ron, no doubt in my mind. Because see, this is the thing. And it's all in what it was that I've been saying. This team right now, in my opinion, and that's where me and Marion we disagree. Well, we do agree on this particular thing. This team right now needs someone to take charge of it.
Right.
Owner, you stay where you are and stay out the way. Let me run this. All you need, just like in football, Jack Kent Cook, Wellington Mara with the Giants. What? They hire general managers. They hire presidents of football operations. Hey, if you don't bring me a championship within 5 years, you fire. What? Okay. You didn't see those owners. You didn't hear anything out of those owners until the trophy was awarded. Well, I'd like to thank the coach and the players for getting me this award here. And the city of Washington will ever be grateful for everything that you guys have done. Congratulations. And then he gone. The man is gone. Disappear off the face of the earth. That's what the Rustlers need to do. Get out the way.
I think that winning to get them there. I think that if we started winning, that would get them out the way. Because then you'd have a GM who has enough gravitas to tell them, get out the way, let me do my job.
Right.
And see, basically, Marion, that's what I mean by top-down leadership. Because thing is that, you're going to collaborate to a certain extent, but this GM, this president of basketball operations, this person is going to set the vision as to how this team is going to be. Now, you look at New York. What is New York? Rough, gritty, tough, defensive minded. Will beat you up if they need to. They and Anthony Mason, Patrick Ewing, what's his name? Oakley. That's the type of team that owner wanted to build. Detroit, the bad boys. Beat you up. Lane Bill, Horn, Salad. That's what I'm talking about. You formulate a team, someone who has that vision for what type of team they want. They put that into place. They get people to buy in. They get people that's going to support that. They get players that support that. And you have a philosophy that stays and wins championships. You're gonna fade from the spotlight. You're gonna fade from the spotlight because all teams do. All dynasties do. Someone else comes and takes over. Just like Boston gave way to Detroit and then gave way to Chicago. Okay. And see, Thibodeau, somebody asked earlier, why in the world they asking for Quinn? They want to interview Quinn because they desperate. They desperate. They messed up. New York messed up. again, firing that man.
Well, John, let me say this though, John. Let me say this though. In response to that, I agree with you, but you're talking about culture. I agree with you. You're talking about culture, and culture remains regardless of who's in charge. And let me give you the example. You brought out the Knicks. The Knicks had the gritty, rough, tough culture that you were talking about. But then at one point, they went looking for a GM, and they went and got smooth, slick-headed Pat Riley, who was with Los Angeles and the glitz and the glamour of Los Angeles, the fast break Los Angeles, and brought him over to be the GM. And the culture still remained the same.
But he was coach first, wasn't he?
Let me say this. But the problem with those two teams and the Atlanta Hawks afraid to get players with gritty, with toughness. We afraid to get players like that. Y'all heard Kool-Aid the other day. I want to be entertained. I got a problem with that. I don't want to be entertained no more. I want to win. I want to win. I want to be in the finals.
Entertain me while I'm winning.
Right.
Well, here you go, Ron. The problem is we don't have a culture. And we don't. And if we do define our culture, our coach, we won't like what we have to say about it. We don't really have a culture, and we don't have a good culture. If we would have defined our culture, we'd say we was a soft city that rooted for other teams. That would be our culture.
What?
Because if LeBron James show up, he gonna have more fans cheering for him than that cheers for the Hawks.
Right, they did it back, man. He was with the Cavs. In the playoffs.
So that's what our culture looks like. Our culture looks like a bunch of transients who just show up at the arena, and nobody is really for the home team. We don't have a culture yet. We got to develop a culture.
How can we get to that?
That's what we're hoping we get to.
Get some folk. Hey, Ron, this is how you do it. And me and Mike talked about this. Get some Atlanta players, draft them in free agency, do whatever. Get some folk from off the corner around here. Because see, there's some folk around this city. There's some folk around this city that can ball. What? There's some people around this city that can ball. Ant-Man, leave here, go up. Man, look at here. We need, just like I've been saying about the Falcons, you got the best football conference in the world right here, the SEC. Why in the world do you go to Alaska to a doggone Big Lots when you got a Walmart right around the corner? Don't make no sense at all. Don't make no sense at all. Draft some folk from Georgia, Georgia Tech, whatever. Find the best they got, bring them here as free agents or whatever, and start growing some homegrown talent around here and stop going and getting soft players from various other places. Now, also, I'm mixing in folk from China. I'm mixing in folk from Australia. I'm mixing those people in and teaching them ATL ball. I'm teaching them ATL ball.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Before Mike cut us off, Jaylen Brown might be available this summer. That's all I'm gonna say.
It don't cost a lot, man. I don't know.
I mean,
hey, he at ATL.
I feel you, man. We got a little coming up, man. Just do what you gotta do to make sure a little neat here in a couple years.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. Y'all sitting up here shopping at stores.
Another one though, Marion. I told you, I was watching them U16 game. Hey man, that boy won MVP of the FIBA tournament. U16 coming off the bench. He didn't even start. But that boy Nazir Anderson, he from Savannah, Georgia, but he played for Norcross High School and stuff like that though. But he left-handed. lefty point guard. He got. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing him out there. You know, John. I feel you. I'm just saying some guys that's coming up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, man. Look,
Y'all talking, and we gonna end up drafting Asa Newell, and we're gonna be going after Colin Sexton.
I don't know what Asa from though. I know he went to Georgia though, but where he from?
Lord have mercy.
I don't know. We'll be bringing that and the center from Utah as well. We'll be bringing him back.
I'm bringing Kessler back.
Kessler, Sexton, and Asa Newell gonna be our summer.
I told y'all we'll have a straight team though. If you did just fill that hole out with Metro Atlanta and Georgia players, if you feel
it's sad. It's sad when the Hawks be passing out tickets and none of the fans go. You get free tickets. They give you free tickets, but you give it back to them.
Oh, that's messed up.
You give it back to them.
Asa from Florida though, Marion. I'm looking at.
All right, hey, he close enough. That's close enough. That's close enough.
Yeah, I got you. But yeah, he from Destin, Florida. Look like. So.
Hey, that's close enough. That's close enough. You know, I mean, something. I am just tired of doing the same old thing and expecting something different. I'm just tired of that, you know. And see, also, I don't know if you were to hire this president of basketball operations, how do you know Quinn will stay? How you know he doesn't want somebody else? You know, because see, Mark Jackson. Now, see, people talk all that stuff about Mark Jackson negatively, but that man helped build Golden State.
I said that.
He helped build Golden State. And see, New York hasn't called. I don't know why the hell not, because he played point guard up there.
Right.
All right. I don't know why they ain't called the man.
Been the first or the second call.
That's what I'm saying. I you know.
I've been saying his name since y'all met me. Mark
Jackson.
Yeah.
Ron been saying that. Ron been putting his name out.
Go get that man.
Go get it. What's the problem?
Right.
What's the problem?
He know basketball. He built the Warriors. What else we need to know?
I mean, come on, man. Come on. You know, but you know, Marion, it was a pleasure, sir. I told you I wasn't gonna beat you up too bad. I wasn't gonna mess with you too bad or whatever. But hey, me and you, we got to sort this original sin thing out now.
There's some parts. I was just messing, but there's some parts though we could talk about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You create a different channel, man. You know.
Yeah, we can do that. That can be.
All right, fellas, it's been real.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for the time.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's good, man. You know, hey, man, if I get some Hanson Yang intel, you know, I jump on that thing tomorrow or something like that.
Tell him he gonna end up in the lottery. Y'all need to understand that.
Lord have mercy.
Say, I'm sure some gonna leak, man. You know, I think
and talking about draft talk, I believe that Max got a lottery promise as well.
Max.
Yeah.
See that though. A lot of people, like I said, definitely fell in love with Max after that combine game, man.
Well, at the combine, when they told him not to play the second game, I was pretty sure he had a lottery promise at that point.
Yeah, man. You know me though. I mean, just from like me being the game guy or whatever, and even going into that, I ain't even gonna lie, I was even nervous for my boy because I ain't want him to like not show anything. Because I still would have kind of believed. I would have still believed him as a prospect. So I was happy that he like measured well. He did other stuff, and he actually said show stuff though. But yeah, bro, like Yang ain't had no point guard, bro. Like the point guard he was supposed to have on his team or whatever, he had dropped out the combine like right before.
And so the scouts can see. The scouts can see it.
Yeah, no.
The other thing is,
I don't doubt.
Why do you think Yang getting all these invites to?
I'm talking about
second rounders.
Marion, I don't doubt that at all. I'm talking about these crazy fans, man. That's all that we talking. And then also
these jokers looking at draft mocks that were made by somebody in their bathroom, man. Those draft mocks ain't no good. Those draft mocks were made by some dude sitting in his basement. Those wasn't from real scouts.
But see now, gentlemen, Boy, don't even get me started. Cause see, you saw the comment I had on what it was about these mocks. That word mock is enough to stop me from even looking at it. Because see, the thing is, I mean, look, everybody can have an opinion on anything that they want to have an opinion
exactly
on.
Right.
Okay. The mocks, okay, when the expert, quote unquote, experts were doing it, you didn't get but 1 or 2, and that was right before the draft. Now you got people mocking, redrafting, re-mock drafting, and all of this time. Man, what? Those look, man, come on.
John,
You know,
I was
I don't
looking at
even pay that no attention.
I was looking at an article. This is what led me to say what I was saying. I was looking at an article. It was actually about football. And a football scout was saying he wrote the article. He was saying that he had been scouting for so many years, and he looked up, and Mel Kiper was on ESPN talking about what he had said verbatim. And it was at that point that he stopped sharing his mocks publicly. And he said that a lot of his colleagues are the same in both football and basketball, because they started to see how these dudes who work for ESPN, these dudes who work for these other channels, and these dudes who work for other newspapers would take their mocks and would use those as they would plagiarize it.
Right.
And this dude said that he stopped sharing his mocks publicly, and now all he does is he just puts out a list. And he watches how people use that list and wait to draft night to see exactly how much different it was from what really happens.
Why do Marion Kiper have a job?
Man, do you see Mel Kiper has a list, and it'd be the 17th round, and the dude that he said was supposed to go in the first round still waiting.
Right. That's my point right there.
I'm not just talking about Shedeur Sanders. I'm talking about, you can look up and down that list, and it says Mel's best. We in the 5th round. That dude, you said he was going in the 2nd round.
Right. That's my point right there. Marion Kiper, they say he do all his homework, but how you do your homework and you still get it wrong?
Because he be copying off of these scouts, other scouts, and they're giving them false information.
So he need to do his own homework then, right?
That was his homework. His homework was, I'm gonna go and see what they say.
Ah, shit.
And next thing you know, he's gonna be using Chat GTP, try to get his homework, like my students be doing.
Yeah, he worse than Jimmy. Yeah. Do y'all remember Jimmy the Greek?
Yes.
Yeah. See, just like I tell people, see, and there, who was it? It was somebody a couple of days ago, and Mike, I'll be through because I know you got to go.
Fine, man.
Don't be looking at what happened in the past, and try to make any type of decisions about the future. Son, how can you do that? What does Vegas do? How does Vegas assemble their line? How does Vegas, they look at trends, okay? They look at stats, they look at trends, and stats and trends, when they happen and the time starts ticking, it was in the past. It's always present, then past. They look at those things to determine how they are going to set odds. And then you bet against those odds. Now, Vegas is doggone near 90-something%. And that's for them to make money. You sitting up here talking about you can't look in the past, you can't go back, you can't determine how this is going to be by looking at the past. Sorry, son. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry, but you gonna lose money. You gonna get beat up. You gonna get discredited because you are not doing any type of homework. Go ahead and bet your money. Put it down there, big roller. Roll on. We'll see where you end up. And don't ask me for $10 because I ain't got it. Because I know where you spent your last $10 doing something stupid. But go ahead.
These folks,
Y'all have a good evening, fellas.
All right.
All right,
Man, just cut you right off.
nah.
You chopped it.
We
Hey,
appreciate
Ron,
it,
your head, my head rolling on the floor right now. You chopped it off.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Yeah,
All right, thanks, Mike.
Oh, already. Y'all boys take it easy. We out.
Yeah. Swooping in just like a hawk, translating on a pick in the park. Yeah, swooping in just like a hawk, translating on a peak in the pond. And one baby that's far from a flop. Stay from Marina, we blow out the top. DeAndre 12, he just like a cop. Lockdown D, get it still in a block. Vic got that vision, he passing the rock. Trape up from 30 with 12 on the clock. I hope your best player got really good handles, why? Cause he might get swiped by Daniel's eye. Told him don't leave, both get open wide. Cause he jump away like an ocean, yeah. Chillin' on the fat break, scaring down. But you can't leave open garrison. Just like a hawk, translating on a peak in the pond. And one baby that's far from a flop. Stay from Marina, we blow out the top. DeAndre 12, he just like a cop. Lockdown D, get it still in the block.